challenges, especially when you're really not making progress in terms of how your dating is going, your relationships, getting a relationship, whatever it is you want in terms of your love life, okay? So, I speak to guys every week, every month. I help professionally successful men who are successful in their business or their career, right? Things are going pretty well in that area of life and other areas of life too, to, be able to meet, date, attract the women they want, relationship for a long-term, possibly a wife, right? And make sure they have a good quality woman. So things like divorce don't happen. Getting taken to the cleaners doesn't happen. I just got off the phone with the guy who mentioned that. I hear that all the time, right? Pardon me. So, always here to help with all this stuff. And it's really important to think about and talk about this topic of time, because we always think we got a lot of time. Me too. I'm guilty of this as well. I may not be getting results in that deep down I want, or maybe I'm too busy with something else and not prioritizing properly, right? And so just sharing something out here, make sure everybody sees it. So, I wanted to tell a story about, there's a couple stories here about guys, that will come to me. Sometimes they're a couple years out of divorce. Sometimes they're 5 or 10 years out of divorce. Sometimes they've never been married and they're in their 40s or older, haven't had a good relationship in, 15, 20 years. Happens, believe it or not. Some of you are going, whoa, no kidding. I just broke up with my girlfriend, or I just got divorced, or I'm separated, or whatever it is. But believe me, this is fair warning, especially for you guys that, are coming out of that and may or may not, right, attract the women that you want. And so, first is Randy. Reached out to me for help. Been many, many years, 10 years plus, since he'd really had a quality relationship with a woman that he wasn't trying to chase down or, convince just to go on dates with him. And he was up against, obviously, a lot of frustration, but a lot of loneliness too, right? A lot of loneliness. And this is a guy, he's a great guy, successful business owner, has good friends, but just was always getting passed over by the women he wanted, the women he was attracted to. And I wish he would have reached out to me sooner. Now, he really did turn things around quickly, did and work as we worked together, did what I said, and as we worked together over several months, and attracted a woman that he was just like, man, this is the one. Now, he did find out that she wasn't quite the fit. Found out she was overprotective and controlling of him. But guess what? Because he's that guy, he had another woman waiting in the wings that he met previous to her, or while he was starting to see her, and boom, now he's seeing her. Because it's a process, right? I got to admit that I'm always wary of when I work with a guy, if he gets really fast results and he falls head over heels and they're falling head over heels for each other. Usually not a good sign. I'm not going to say in all cases, but my hunch is, right? Look, I get it. When a guy hasn't had relationships that he wants for years and years, decade plus, right? It's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, I needed that. My body needed that. My mind needed that. Right? My soul needed that. Okay? And so it's easy to get caught up in the love drugs, I call them, right? And it makes sense. But I'm the more objective party, being not in the guy's experience, and I make sure we check for red flags and all kinds of stuff. And even when we do those checks, it seems right. Who knows? Because there is a time factor on. So that's a different way to look at time. But the time I'm really talking about here, I want to get is to getting to thinking, and hoping, and I call it hopium, right? Let me just smoke a little more hopium. Oh, I'm gonna get there. I'm just, okay, not this week, not this month, not this year, and then another year rolls around, and guess what? Alone again. Okay, great. My New Year's this year, I'm going to fix it. Another year passes, another year passes, another year passes. You see, we're creatures of habit, and we want to avoid stuff that's painful. By nature, that's how human beings are. We avoid things that are uncomfortable when on the other side of that discomfort, and getting to acting on it now and putting up in priority to change and fix what we need to do, because ultimately the common point of attraction, whoever it is that wants to create the love life that they want with women and get their ideal relationship in that case, right? So we always think we have, you know, a lot of time. And if you just look at the world, and especially as you get older, right? Again, your 40s and older, maybe somebody that you're close to dies. And what I mean by that is not somebody that's older than you, like a parent or a grandparent or whatever, but somebody that's a peer, right? So I want to encourage you to prioritize this stuff and take care of it and get on it so you can handle this part of your life, right, before it is too late. And part of being too late isn't necessarily you're going to, you know, we're going to croak, we're going to die, we're going to pass away. Part of it is getting stuck in the rut so that we live out the rest of our lives. And that quiet desperation is, oh, don't kill me. Is it Walt Whitman or Henry David Thoreau? One of those two badass famous authors said, most men live lives of, we're not about that here at Core Confidence, right? I want you to have what you want and what you deserve. Now, one other thing that's a side symptom is blaming women. Blaming women. It's all women's fault. It's funny, I was talking with my friend who is a female dating coach for women. One of the biggest things she would hear is the women sometimes really think it's the guys need to be fixed. Well, the same works on either side, right? And it takes one side to change it. And since they help men, you have to look at your side. And blaming women, it's not going to work. You're not going to get the results you want. You might be right in your worldview, meaning you get to be right on that, which means you get to have that sense of I'm right, F them, but you don't get the results you want. Because ultimately we got to be on the same side. We're in this together. The human race is where it was and evolved to where it was. And you and I being where we are and being born in our current life, right? Born and grown and living our lives is because of men and women coming together. And it's not always so pretty, right? It doesn't always work out in relationships. Certainly you don't have to be in love or have a great relationship to have a child, as many of you know. But this is about quality of life here, right? And again, if we're thinking constantly blame it on I'm too busy or I'm too this or I'm too that or I just, you know, I don't have enough time to do it right now. And look, there are certain cases where yes, that can be true, especially if you're like starting up your own new business, you're not quite successful in it yet, you're probably going to need to spend focus on that for a while. But if you're not that, and most guys that reach out aren't that, and if a guy reaches out, get on the phone and say, you're going to start up, awesome, welcome to the club, and you need to go work on that because it's going to take everything you got to get that thing going, right? Most successful guys, average successful guys, right? What I mean by average is guys that have time, but they're like, I don't have the time. And so I just want to tell you a success story, right? Then I want to tell you one of a guy that I've spoken to that after we looked at working together, he just wanted more time, and I'll do it later, okay? And guess what? The guy is still struggling, okay? Let's call him John. He's still struggling. And I'm thinking of a case in particular, but I talk to that guy all the time. I just need to think about it more and think about when to get my life in order better and when to, I'll just work more in the meantime. I'll just work more, right? Which is an avoidance of dealing with the actual problem because it's painful to deal with going up against your shyness or confidence issues. It's painful to go up against dealing with the fact that women are not responding well, soft rejecting you, as I just spoke about with the guy. A lot of times guys believe the boyfriend excuse, right? They actually believe it. Because what tends to happen is when you're an attractive guy, no matter what her relationship status, she tends to fail to mention that because she's attracted, right? And so let's say even a guy asks out a girl that is married, he doesn't realize her, she never ring on, or he didn't check, wasn't playing awareness. Oh, I'm flattered, but I'm married. See, that's a legitimate one, but that's not what happens a good majority of the time. it's a soft rejection that a woman does, A, because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings, and B, because she doesn't want to have to deal with a guy who might think no means not yet. Let me just push harder like some movies do, which is totally the wrong way to do it. Just not. If she's doing that, you don't press more. Just persist and keep breaking through her defenses. Not if you want to be the guy, the irresistible guy that I talk about, right? It's not gonna work like that. It doesn't work like that. Okay. So you don't want to struggle and suffer with the regret. You really don't, right? And you don't want to be reaching out to me 2, 5, 10 years later to go, David was right. Now, again, you got to be committed to doing this. You got to be committed to facing up to what's not working and changing that, okay? Otherwise, it's just going to stay the same. And then there's going to be, and what tends to happen is our minds want to give us a little hope to keep us safe so that we don't change. It's really weird how our subconscious minds do that. Mine does it too, right? And then I'll have to push through and break it and realize it's just part of the pattern of keeping me at the same level in my life and not breaking through the next level, which is why if you feel like some of you are going to feel like I am running out of time. Breakthrough call, there's a link in the text along with this video. And for some of you who are starting to hopefully wake up to that you might be smoking a little hopium, reach out and let's have that chat and see if I can help you out, because you do got to be committed and ready to do this in order to really change this, right? Especially if you've been stuck for years in the same patterns, in the same thinking, in the same vibe, right? That's a huge thing, is the vibe that makes such a difference, where it's almost like what you don't do because your vibe does the work. You don't have to take tons of action necessarily. Sometimes you got to take more than others depending on the environment. But we often think also as guys, I got to do this, I got to do that. It's what I do rather than how I'm being or who I am or who I show up as, right? I got a comment today from a guy that said, well, why do you have to change? They should just love you for you. There's some truth to that. But if you're not attracting or going on dates or with the women that you want, what you're doing is not working, so you have to change something. Not changing you in entirety, but there's this idea that just be yourself, they'll love you for you, and even friends and family will tell you that. They'll throw hopium on you. Here, have a hit. It's going to fix it. It just isn't. It just isn't. That's just the truth. Everything I'm dropping here is the truth, right? So, make that choice. Don't live with that regret. And yes, you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready to change and get better and different results, because you don't want to feel like you're having to settle for somebody. Two big things I hear. One, dealing with loneliness, David. Two, I'm dating somebody, or the kinds of women I want, I just feel like I'm settling, right? And that doesn't mean looks necessarily, guys. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's the internal characteristics of her. It's her vibe, it's her energy that guys are settling for how they're being treated, or the women's expect them to always pay for everything and take care of her and pamper her and so on and so forth, right? That's not good either. That's what I have. Time isn't on your side if you're making excuses, smoking the hopium, blaming it on work. I'm too busy. I'll just work more, which is a form of avoidance. And so reach out, book the call. There's a link here. You can send me a chat if we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, somewhere like that. And I'm here to help as long as you're committed and really want this for yourself. If you're not committed, I just can't do it. I can't make you be committed. I can't want it more than you do, okay? At the end of the day, it's going to affect you more than me. So until the next video, we're complete. Take care. Bye-bye.